Sam and I are privileged to have with us our emotional intelligence mentor and certainly very close friend, Dr. Wanda Bonnet Gascott.
Well, thank you so much for having me here with you guys. It's an honor and a privilege to share what is emotional intelligence. That is my passion, is my life purpose to share what I call holistic emotional intelligence. That is a concept developed from the root of the emotional intelligence itself. That was a concept that was developed by the 1995 and was popular by Daniel Goleman. And when I learned about it, it was around in the 2000. I was working in the pharmaceutical industry. By that moment, by that time, I thought that was the best way to help people, to be honest. I didn't know better. I thought I was doing what I need to do to help people to heal. Later on in my life, I learned that it's more than that. But by that time, working in the pharmaceutical industry, I have the opportunity to learn about emotional intelligence because it was used in the leadership programs to help people in the corporate America to be better manager, be better supervisor with the self-awareness, self-management, social wellness and empathy that you have and you need to be able to be a better supervisor, a better leader in the corporate America environment.
You just outlined the facets of emotional intelligence, but could you go through them systematically for us?
Oh,
Tell us about the
yes.
4 parts of emotional intelligence, or sometimes I think you've elevated it up to 5 parts, but whatever. Would you share with us an overview of emotional intelligence?
Oh, yes. Emotional intelligence is the ability to manage your emotions in a healthy way. That means that back in the years, or the original concept, have those 4 pillars that are self-awareness. That means that first you need to know your own emotions. If you don't know your emotions, you are not going to be able to manage yourself. That is the second one, self-management. That means that first you know, and second you manage yourself, how you behave with yourself and with others. The first 2 pillars is about you. The other 2 is about others. Social awareness is how you perceive and how you see the emotions of other people, how you could connect with other people. And the empathy part is when you are intentionally acting and behaving in terms of the understanding of other people and how your actions and your words are going to be in alignment with the emotions of other people. That means that first you learn about you behave yourself, and second you learn about other people and you behave intentionally to understand and have that connection, that alignment with others. And basically, that is emotional intelligence.
Well, that's a pretty good way of putting it. And since this is a program for a spiritual platform, I think if we look at the life of Jesus, and one of my theories is that Jesus was certainly an expert practitioner of emotional intelligence,
Oh, yeah.
in the way he dealt. But how have you seen spirituality be affected by emotional intelligence? Does emotional intelligence in any way make people a better Christian, for example?
Totally. The master is Jesus.
Mhm.
He teach everything. Actually, he teach us how to manage our emotions. He did it in different ways, and we could find it in the Bible. We could find it in the 7 words that he said at the cross, and he actually was managing his emotions during that time. He was he actually gave us tips, specific tips in the gift of the Holy Spirit, how to manage our emotions directly. 7 emotions, 7 gifts, 7 emotions, 7 words at the cross. That means that we just have to pay attention to his words, but really intentional, and also his how he acts and how he was dealing with every moment of his life when he was triggered in different situations, how he responds. He always, most of the time, he behaved properly. I remember once that he was in the temple that he get a little bit aggravated because the people were selling. And in that moment, he kind of lose it a little bit because it was a trigger for him.
Actually, he did that twice.
He has a lot of emotional intelligence. As us, he has triggers too. That in a moment you have to manage yourself the best way that you can. But sometimes it's hard because the triggers are strong.
So what would you say was the trigger for his cleansing of the temples, actually walking through with a whip and overturning tables and throwing the money changers and the sellers of sacrificial animals, just throwing them right out of the temple? What triggered? What triggered?
Obviously, he was not expecting that. From the behavior of humans. Is through the Bible we saw a lot of different behaviors that were not expected by Jesus or by God. Even at the beginning, Eva and Adam, they were not supposed to behave in certain ways. That means that we didn't follow the expectations of God and Jesus, and in certain moments they react. They just overreact and follow those triggers. In other situations, Jesus was able to calm down and use emotional intelligence and say, "Hey, calm down."
Dale, I think an interesting point, or that I want to make, an interesting observation, is even in with Jesus at the temple, I believe that he still was using emotional intelligence. I think it was a moment where he was aware of his surroundings, social awareness, and he needed to get a point across. And I think he understood that the best way to get that point across was to do what he did. And I relate it a lot to my field of work, Dale. I deal with people, and there are some times that you're going to get Officer Sam Vasquez, very firm, very stern. Sometimes I'll go in and a lot of times it's when I want to get a really good point across, or if it's a security issue, a dangerous issue. There's no time for being the calm emotional intelligence. When there is a security issue or an issue which can cause some harm or cause death, I'm going in there and I'm going to take charge there. There is no listening to you. It's going to be a very firm, very strict, very strong response. And I really believe that Jesus, what they were doing in the temple was going to cause death. It was that serious. And I think that his response was a masterful emotional intelligence response to show this is going to cause death. That's one of those emergency moments that I need to get your attention and I need to get it right now.
Well,
So
I think the backdrop is they were doing it in what was known as the court of the Gentiles.
Mm-hmm.
It was the only place where Gentiles could come into the temple and have a spiritual experience within the temple. And with the money changers and the animal sales and everything going on in there, the Gentiles could not access the temple and the portion of the temple that they had a right to. And I think Jesus was upset about that, and he understood that people's needs weren't being met.
I would even say, Dale, that he was trying to prevent a spiritual death, a spiritual harming, a really, really bad spiritual harming. And I think that elicited the response when he walked in there and saw that. It's no different than when I walk into a situation and there is, there's just no room for passiveness because it can cause serious damage, or it can even cost lives.
Let me ask you this, Sam. When you walk into a situation, I'm sure you use the strength of self-awareness. And I'm sure you know where in the past you may have not let your emotions be controlled, but let your emotions control you, and you didn't respond in the best way possible. So you go in fully aware of yourself, and you go in aware of things that you might do that would not be the appropriate thing. And then I suspect you are also sensing the mood of the crowd and are developing a strategy for managing their emotions, even if you have to be tough. It's all about managing their emotions, I assume.
It really is. And part of the thing, we see in my industry, and I know Wanda, we've talked about this. My industry is really in need of emotional intelligence training, emotional intelligence, just being aware of emotional intelligence, because
remind us what your industry is.
So I've been in law enforcement for, I started in 1993 in Massachusetts, and I'm still doing it. So it's been however many years. I'm not that good in math, but
we also know you can't remember how long you've been married either.
Yeah. Don't tell my wife that, please. But
she told you the other night. Did you forget that?
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Well, the one thing that is really, I think, is the key and very important to point out is that you're right. The more emotional intelligence is a journey. Mm-hmm. It's not something that you're going to learn right away today, and tomorrow you're going to be completely different. It's a journey within yourself, within other people, how you feel in reaction to others. It's a whole journey, and it's a process. But I think that your reference is very good, because the Sam 10, 15 years ago, walking into a situation, a dangerous situation, let's say, would behave completely different than the Sam today walking into a situation. Now, it might be the same initial response, but what comes after that, the fact that Sam today, I have a much better understanding of my emotions. I can tone those emotions down immediately. As soon as the situation is contained and controlled, it's almost like, okay, you analyze, you assess, everything's calm, then you come right down. Whereas before emotional intelligence, it took me days to come down from that high. So it's been a process, it's been a journey, but those are the key things that emotional intelligence brings to your life. And I think
Sam, your testimony is that in a difficult situation, emotional intelligence has made you much more effective as a deputy sheriff and as a leader of prison guards.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When we talk about Jesus being the example, what a perfect example. Jesus dealt with people in different ways. It wasn't always the soft, okay, this is what's gonna, we're gonna do this, we're gonna give you a break. He wasn't like that. He dealt with people at their level, and he knew the emotional intelligence was that he understood and knew who to or how to react to who.